What's going on, amputees, preamps, postamps, aboves, belows? This is my chapter 2 episode. I apologize, it's been a little late. I know some of you were, looking to get this information on what to expect before all the way to getting your final socket. There was a death of a close friend of ours, so it was. We've been dealing with the grieving process lately. That's why I haven't made any videos or done any outdoor stuff or anything like that lately. Plus, I've been having a lot of back pain. That's a whole nother situation and topic for another chapter. So I want to get into chapter 2 on what to expect. From before you lose your leg, you're gonna meet with a team. You're gonna have to pick a team at a prosthetic company. And some places you're blessed to have more than one option. Some places there only is one option that's in your driving capability, or in your, some people like in Kansas have to drive 2 hours to go to their prosthetist. So you're gonna have to pick your team, or go over with the only team that you have available. They're gonna go over basically the procedure the night before the surgery, about how many days, stuff like that. They're gonna tell you what they like to do, what their company's about, and if you have more than one, you pick one. You pick your favorite one that you like. I had two options that I was given to. I probably could have found a couple more, but I had interviews with both places and kind of found the team that I wanted to build my leg. So I went with them. And then let's go over the day of, or the night before. You're gonna need to fast. So they're gonna want you to fast after midnight. Nothing but clear water, just fluids. But it has to be water only. No food, stuff like that. You'll have your amputation date schedule already in advance with your surgeon. And at this point, you're just going in, and it's usually in the morning. When you go in, you're going to meet with every one of your team members. So you're going to meet with the anesthesiologist. He's going to go over what he's going to do and his role in your surgery. And then you're going to sign some papers with him. And then the nurses that were going to be in the operating room will come by, and they're going to state their purpose, what they're doing, and have you sign some more papers. Eventually you'll get the doctor, the surgeon will come around. He's going to go over everything with you, and then you're going to sign more papers. And they're just consent forms. Then it's prep time, and you're getting set up with an IV. They're going to get you with a relaxing medication right before you go into the operating room, to kind of keep you calm and stuff, and not have so much anxiety about the situation. So you'll get that usually in your IV. And then once all you're prepped and ready and ready to go back, then you get wheeled back, you get put on the table, and they do usually the anesthesia through your IV. It's not through the mask. It smells like a beach ball, but it's just oxygen being pumped, and they want you to count backwards from 10. I mean, it's like 6. So, now waking up, expect to be groggy. I mean, expect some pain, expect a lot of pain. This isn't something that you're just going to walk into and walk right out of. But it's not going to be forever. The pain's not going to be forever. It might be intense at first. You might wake up confused, wondering where you are. Your nurses will come attend to you and kind of bring you out of anesthesia and go over everything. And then shortly after, the surgeon will come in and explain how well the surgery went, if it was a success, if they had to do any alternations while you were under, anything like that. He's going to go over your treatment plan and your care plan. And for some doctors, it's way different. For me, the treatment plan for me was odd. It was ketamine, a nasal spray ketamine, and I had a really bad experience with it. I thought I was dying every time my heart rate dropped. the machine would beep, and it was a red line beeping, and I thought that was my heart rate. So I had a really bad experience with the ketamine and thought I was dying every time my heart rate went low, because the ketamine suppresses your breathing. So they were trying to let me know, so they took that off my treatment plan. So expect, there might be some really odd treatment plans for pain these days. Like mine was 6 years ago. Who knows what they're using now? That's as far as that goes. You're going to be casted, and the person that usually casts you is going to be your prosthetist, the one you picked, in combination with your surgeon. And the first one will happen when you're under. You'll wake up in a cast. There might be a drainage tube. I had a drainage tube from the stapled region in the front, and you'll probably be in the hospital for 5 to 7 days, and that's going to monitor you, your pain management, check for any infections, and then eventually you're going to get recasted before you leave, because a lot of swelling will have gone down by then. And your prosthetist usually is the one that will do all your castings through and through. So that last one you will do at the hospital, and then you will be sent home. And then when you get your further cast changes every week, as your nub shrinks down in size from the swelling going away and healing, you'll need a new cast like once a week. So they'll usually be doing that in their office. As far as home care, within the first 3 weeks it can be really painful. And one thing that I can't stress dramatically is get to know your surroundings, get to know what you can do on crutches. If you can't do crutches, make sure you get a wheelchair. If you're able to use one of the knee scooters, find what option is best for you in your house. Some people have stairs. I had to use crutches for my whole time. I didn't have the benefit of a wheelchair or anything. I was living in the basement of Mom's house because the apartment that I rented was too far away, and I don't drive. So I had to live in my mom's house for the surgery and 3 months in recovery time before I could go back to my house after I was done seeing the doctor and I was on my own. So just make sure there's going to be a lot of obstacles. The pain medications can make you really dizzy, drowsy, nauseous, constipated. Be prepared for those things. Get your doctor will usually go over this stuff with you, like getting over the counter anti-constipation stuff or laxatives. But meds and crutches can be dangerous, so be aware. And the one thing I learned, this is just my personal experience, keep a mental note on how to fall. And if you have a way that you can fall, or you can a go-to way to fall that's going to prevent you from landing directly on your nub or your body crushing your nub on its side, that's the best way to find out. And not by doing it. It's just however you feel better balance wise. The other thing with crutches is, now this is for lower extremity, above the knees, even short residual nubs below the knee. On crutches, if you lose your balance and you're losing your balance going backwards, and you swing that nub out there, and it's still in the cast, you don't have the weight to reset your balance, so you might be going backwards. You got to prepare for these things, got to take mental notes of these things, and just prepare yourself for what obstacles can I do, what family members, a wife, or brother, sister, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, cousin, someone in your family, see if they can stay and be a care provider. Some don't have that option, and with most insurances, with Medicare, you can get a home care nurse, and if you have issues bathing, they can come through and help you do those things, going to the bathroom, cleaning up after yourself, anything like that. You can usually find the help that you need to do post-care. And just keeping it from getting wet when you take a bath or a shower. If you can get away with the shower on a shower chair and seal that leg off to where it's not getting wet, kudos. Kudos. I recommend doing a shower chair with a trash bag taped to the skin, and is best avoided. Um, but that's kind of how I went about getting around with showers and stuff like that. And I did everything on my own. I was blessed to be in my 20s when I lost my leg. So, like I mentioned, you'll be getting casted weekly until you've shrunken down enough, until they take the stitches out, and until your doctor feels that your incision site is sealed enough for you to start going into a check socket. And a check socket is usually going to be a clear plastic. It's going to be pretty heavy. Um, and it's either going to be attached to a loaner leg, or your insurance is really good and it processed real fast, and they got you, your insurance is already paid out on your prosthetic by then, and they got you in your actual leg, and you're working in a check socket trying to get through that process to get a finalized socket made. And the check sockets, here's the one thing I can't stress enough about these guys. They're going to be discouraging. They're going to be tedious. They're going to be painful at first. They're going to be very awkward. It's going to feel very hard in some places and very just unnatural, just completely unnatural. You're just going to be like, this doesn't feel right. There's no way this is right. There's no way. And so what they do is they'll have you do a on-off treatment, which is 15 minutes wearing the socket, 15 minutes off, and then the next day you do 30 minutes and 30 minutes, and then 40 minutes, 45 minutes and 45. Work your way up to wearing it all day. But they want you to get through that, and that can be very uncomfortable after the first 5 minutes of ever having one on. And I was sitting down because obviously I wasn't walking around when I first got it. Just sitting there with it on for 5 minutes, it was just a dull ache, and it was just, it was discouraging. I thought, is this how it's always going to be? And it's not always going to be that way. It's tedious. The reason they do that big hard plastic, usually it's clear, and then you're going to have some form of what they make casts with, that same wrapping, that's going to be sealed to the loaner leg or your actual prosthetic leg. Pardon me. And that plastic's going to be really heavy, and they're going to want you to practice wearing it, doing stuff around the house, using crutches so you're not load bearing completely on that limb, and they're going to want you to start getting comfortable wearing it and using it when they're ready for you to do it. Now that's different with everyone. I can't say, 6 weeks or 5 weeks or 8 weeks. That's all up to your body and how you heal, or if there's any complications between the amputation and getting into a finalized socket. So be patient. Listen to your prosthetist. They're going to help you extremely, and just take their advice. There was times I was so discouraged, and I was like, there's no way he's right. There's no way. This is not. And I would leave, upset or discouraged because I was uncomfortable, and I was just getting used to it. So it gets better. Your body strengthens, you get more used to it. They start to work out the kinks. Sometimes your check socket can take 6 weeks to make. Sometimes you don't know that you have a problem with it until you've walked a mile or maybe a football field. I didn't know I would have it felt great. I would leave the office and then I'd walk 100 yards to the bus stop, and I was having pain in a different spot. Also, when you sleep, your body sends moisture and water to your limbs, and it's like a storage. So you're typically more swollen in the morning than you are when you go to bed. That's why you're usually putting on more ply socks as the day goes on. And you might have to do that with the check socket. You might not. It depends how they're making your socket. But really just the patience, and just don't get discouraged. It all gets better. The check socket, once you get through that process, it can be tedious, and there can be 1,000 mini little adjustments. It could be 1,000 things. You might have to go back every other day. You might have to go back every week. You might have to go back every 2 weeks until they get it right. But one thing I stress on this: never rush into your finalized socket. As much as you want it just to be on the go and ready to do what you want to do, don't rush into your final socket, because Your check socket is usually a pliable, bendable plastic. That's why it's heavy. It sucks. The finalized ones are going to be a carbon fiber, and when you need adjustments on a finalized socket, now you're compromising the structure of your prosthetic limb. This one is one of my later ones. This comes with a internal rubber piece. These can be more beneficial because they can actually make adjustments to these themselves. You can see they had to add padding once I started to atrophy there. So they added padding instead of having to do extra work to the finalized piece. So, and you can get the insides of these laminated. Here's I believe my first one ever. You can see how big it was because of how swollen, and that was the push button there, but you can see where it got compromised and it cracked inside. I don't know if you can see here. I need a flashlight. I don't know where it went. I don't know if you can see on the inside of there. There's some compromises to it. You can see where it's just pure carbon fiber, and this one actually was laminated with a bandana on the inside. It makes it a lot heavier, so I don't know if I'd recommend that, but I do recommend, if you're doing a pin and lock socket, to do one with a rubber internal fitting. Sometimes you'll have to put this on your nub and then this into the prosthetic to get it on, and that's just depending on how your prosthetic's made. So going into getting into your finalized socket, usually your insurance has to approve before they're going to put it on your final socket, and they're going to want to make sure that you are completely satisfied, that you're in no pain, and that you're able to do what you need to do. Now keep in mind, not everyone can just get up and go. The first time I got put in the check socket, I kind of got up and I just started walking around the prosthetic office, and they called everyone over like, look at him, he's just walking around, and it was a loner leg that was stiff, and it was in a check socket that was heavy. I couldn't do it long, but it just showed my determination from the go. I was ready to do it, and that also was my Achilles heel because I did some things, I overrushed things. Once I got into my finalized socket, I was overdoing it, and that's one thing to remember when you're getting into your final socket. It's easy to overdo things. If you're an outdoorsman like me, you like doing hikes. I live in Colorado, so I'm in the Rocky Mountains. We do hikes up rugged terrain. There's a lot of stuff that you have to factor into your activities once you're into a new socket. But even before you get into those activities, they'll put you through physical therapy, and that could be anywhere from once a week to 3 times a week. For me, it was too expensive, so what we did was my physical therapist was kind enough to see me like once a month it was, or once every 2 weeks, for a check base, because I was on a fixed income on disability, so I wasn't able to pay the $70 specialty fee to see the physical therapist. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And most physical therapists will print you out what exercises you need to do with your leg on your downtime, when you're at home, when your prosthetic's off. So make sure you're doing those things that they're asking you to do, and if you can afford to do the full-on physical therapy, congratulations. I'm all for it, and you're very blessed. Not very many people can, or they end up having to work out some kind of deal where they can only go a limited amount of times, and that's okay too. Don't get discouraged on that either. That process can take months. It could take a year. Sometimes that process, you're constantly having a complication, and you're constantly having to go get a new surgery, or something's going on, and so this could be prolonged, but it's never the end. I see a lot of amputees that give up walking, and they have their prosthetic, but they choose the robotic cart, the robotic things to drive around in. and that's okay too. It's all up to you. Whatever you're comfortable in, whatever you don't, the less pain you're in, the better. And that's the goal of this. And the goal is to get you as active as possible and get your life back to what you used to have when you had a leg. So don't overdo things when you're out. Um, Make sure you have a plan of action. Here in Colorado, with the altitude, the higher you go up in elevation, the more it pushes down fluid into your residual limbs, and gravity and all that. The pressure's pushing it down into your legs. So if I were to go climb up to Pikes Peak and I did this huge hike and I get way up there and I want to take my leg off because it's just throbbing in the prosthetic, and I just want to give it like 15 minutes, I'm just going to sit and relax, I got to bring an ACE bandage to wrap around my liner, because if I don't, it's going to swell up so much I might not be able to get it back on. And then you're stuck up there without being able to get your leg back on. So the other thing is, let people know where you're going. I recommend for the first year, if you're doing outdoor activities, bring someone with you. Bring a family member, bring a wife, a husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, sister, brother, cousins, nephews, a friend, close friends, a group of friends, doing any activity that you're going to be out where people can't find you, or if you're in nature or something like that, or where you can end up getting to a point where you can't walk no more, and how are you going to get back? And so you're going to need help at those points. So I recommend staying away from activities that are going to lead to that. That's just something to expect in the first year of walking and actually being active. So that's something I learned the hard way. I've gone to a point where I've had to rest on the side of a mountainside for a half hour before I can get my leg back on. And so prepare for these things, make sure people know where you're going, those kind of things like that. Bring people with you. But as far as that goes, you're going to have to really take it easy when you start noticing something. The one thing that I had a problem with when I first started becoming active, and in my, I still was atrophying, so I had a real big nub, was swelling still. I had muscle still that was atrophying from lack of use. And so I would go on a hike, and my problem was knowing when to put the next ply sock on, or knowing when to put the first ply sock on, and knowing what ply sock to put on. If you're going to be out doing activities and stuff like that, I recommend having a backpack, one with water, a coin or something if you have a pin socket where you want to, your twist lock to get it on if you can't press it on all the way. That way you can twist it on securely. Whatever you need tool-wise for that. Never take apart your prosthetic. That's always just a given there, especially if you're out and you think something's wrong with it or you got dirt in it. The best thing to do, your prosthetist will usually give you a phone number, an emergency line. I at least had emergency lines where if I couldn't get my leg on, or I couldn't get my leg off, or I was having an issue, they would let me know how to get it off, like lifting up the silicone liner and pouring water down there, and you can slide the leg off if you're unable to get the pin out of the socket, releasing the prosthetic from your liner. So there's little tips and tricks like that, and I'll go over more of that stuff later on. But you just don't want your skin to deteriorate. You don't want to go out on a hike or a big walk and you're far from home, there's no bus system or no one to pick you up, and you didn't bring any Vaseline or any ointment for lubrication, or you were sweating a lot and you forgot to take your leg off or your liner off. Empty out the sweat, dry it out, and then re-put it on dry, so you get your legs not sliding up and down with the silicone. You always want to make sure to empty the sweat out on hot days, and that's kind of hard in jeans. Sometimes you need a bathroom to take your jean pant all the way down off just to get to the liner, because I like to keep my liners all the way as high up as I can. I don't like the bubbles in them. I don't like the air bubbles that get down in there and they sound like farts. They're just inconvenient. They feel awkward, and it can just cause the skin deterioration. So you want to stay away from stuff like that. So make sure you're drying it. Bring a clean towel to dry your leg off with, to dry the inside of your your liner off with, especially with suction ones. You want to make sure your limb is dry. So bring what you need. Bring your ointment so you're not having skin lacerations. That's a huge one, because if you overdo it just by a little bit, you're gonna have to take 4 steps back. And what I mean by that is, an activity that may have been 45 minutes for you, that you just did it, you over pushed yourself just a little too far, and now you have some skin deterioration, just some rub marks, like a rash or a friction burn. That's going to take time to heal, and those nerves become really sensitive after time being in a liner. They're not desensitized like this knee or my leg. The ingrown hairs and stuff like that, anything like that, gets real sore, real hard to walk on. Keep in mind, you're putting your whole body's weight down. So, knowing when to put the right ply on. If it starts to feel uncomfortable, if you start to feel like you're hitting the bottom, or it feels weird, start with the 1 ply. And if that's not going away, or if you can't get it on all the way, kind of try and tighten it on a little bit and get it to where it's not fully pressed in all the way to the bottom of the pin, but you have it on. You're able to stand up, adjust yourself, and see if that works for you. You might have to go to a 2 ply or a 3 ply. It depends on how much fluid's in your limb before you're out doing your activities. So just keep in mind those kind of factors when you're out doing stuff in your full-on prosthetic. But as far as that goes, that's kind of, I'm sure I've missed some stuff. There's a lot to go over through this whole process. And that's why I left my email, amputeeangler@gmail.com, or gsloat, GSLOAT24 @gmail.com. Those are the 2 emails you can get by me. I believe my comments on YouTube are disabled until my channel gets big enough. I do all sorts of things, fishing videos, outdoor videos. I plan on doing a lot of amputee hiking videos, how-tos, life hacks, you name it. I have 11 chapters that I plan on going over, and I apologize getting to you guys so late on the 2nd episode. If you have any questions of anything I didn't cover about any of the processes, or any of the steps, what did you do for this, or anything you have. I'm a 6-year amputee. I'm a K4. That's a insurance thing. They rate you on how active you are. I believe it's K4 or K5 is the highest you can go. So I'm pretty much able to do anything, from climbing vertical hikes with rugged terrain, black diamond hikes where kids aren't allowed, dogs aren't allowed. Kids have died doing these hikes, and I'm able to do those things, and I'm blessed to do those things. So I want to share everything I can with you guys. A, to educate you, B, to motivate you, because this isn't the end. And if you quit now, if you quit early, if you quit before you get into that final eye socket, or if you just give up and you just want to stick to a motorized cart or a wheelchair, you're missing out on life. You have so many opportunities, so many blessings in front of you if you just stick with it. Hold tight, hold strong, be strong, reach out to support groups. There's one here in Colorado. It's the Limb Preservation Foundation, and that's limbpreservationfoundation.org. I believe. I'll look into it. I'll probably post the link in the description there. And I'll leave a link to my emails and stuff like that as well, so you don't have to write them down or anything. But if there's anything about the process before surgery to after surgery, or anything like that you want to know, feel free to email me, give me a shout. Please like and subscribe. I need to know how many amputees are watching these. I need to know if it's beneficial by just doing a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you don't like it, thumbs down, and send me an email. Let me know what you didn't like, or what you need to know, what I didn't cover, and stuff like that, or anything like that. I'm open for constructive criticism, and I'm here to help every one of you as best as I can. I feel like I've been blessed, so I want to give those blessings back in knowledge, and so you guys can avoid doing some of the slip ups that caused me 6 weeks of being out of my prosthetic, or 2 weeks here, or readjusting to it, or having to get new surgeries because of things. So, um, I'm just here to help, and I just want to give you guys the benefits of it all. I also want to do amputee outdoor videos with you guys, fishing, hiking, herping, which is catching reptiles, snakes, and stuff like that. I do all sorts of stuff on my channel, so if you like scorpions, snakes, all fishing especially, so anything outdoors, like, subscribe, share with other amputees. I'm here to support you guys. I'm here to answer your questions. Hopefully I'll be able to get these videos onto, or links of these videos to, the amputee support groups on Facebook, and hopefully you guys have watched this far in the video, or have skimmed far enough, that you guys can just reach out to me on Facebook when you see my link, hey, episode's out, stuff like that. So I do apologize for anyone waiting on episode 2 on expectations and what to expect from pre-op through post-op through years of amputee experience, just what to expect. So that's my episode, guys. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Anything you need, I'm here for you. So reach out. There's support groups everywhere. I know there's post-depression with it. A lot of people have a hard time coping with it, and dealing with cosmetically showing it. They don't want to wear shorts, or girls will wear skirts, or how am I going to wear high heels? And there's answers to all this stuff. There's cosmetic options for all this stuff. The advancements is there. So there's groups, there's going to be knowledge everywhere you turn to, and I'm just one outlet. So I encourage you to reach out to all the outlets, and I'll be doing also prosthetic reviews. I am trying to give away a prosthetic to someone unfortunate in a third world country that doesn't have the benefit of insurance and prosthetic limbs, or to someone here in America that's actually going to need it and not try and sell it. So reach out to me about that, and we can talk about it. I've made posts on some of the amputee support groups. My name's Gary Slowed on there if you need to find me. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Thank you.